Chicago, is Caleb the solution at quarterback that you've been looking for all these years? Let's talk about him and the rest of the Chicago Bears offense for 2024.
Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. I'm your host, Calvin Timms, and I'm excited to be breaking down another team for the 2024 season, and that is going to be the Chicago Bears. Been doing a few of these so far. Hit the Steelers, hit the Cardinals, the Jaguars, I think the Texans as well. And I don't remember all of them that I've done so far, but they're all available on the channel, on the YouTube. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel over there. Helps us out, and you can see all the content that we're going to be doing. Just a reminder before I get into today's video that we are changing the format a little bit. No more of my solo podcast after this one, except every Monday. We're going to be doing solo, just me on Mondays. Wednesdays is going to be me and Dale, and then Fridays is going to be me and Dale with a weekly recap, which is going to be a little bit more of a fun one. We're going to maybe try and do it live. We'll see, and it'll be Friday nights, but we're going to see how that kind of goes. So we're going to play with it this week, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, and you can have fun with us over there. And if you're not a YouTuber, the podcast is available on Spotify, Rumble, Apple, Google, everywhere else that podcasts are found. So thank you guys so much for checking us out. If you're new, stay tuned. I'm going to have fun talking about the Chicago Bears today. If you're one of the returning listeners, we appreciate you guys. You guys are the OGs, and we do love you guys. So hit us down in the comments with any thoughts you might have on today's video, and you can let me know how dumb I am for having hope in the Chicago Bears, because for my entire lifetime, they have not been able to get a quarterback. And, Mitch Trubisky was supposed to be the savior. Justin Fields was supposed to be the savior. Caleb Williams is supposed to be the savior now. And Jay Cutler, if you go back far enough, it's just they've never been able to get it right at this position. But I actually do think that Caleb is going to be quite hopeful for this team. And, this is going to be a fun team to watch. I do believe that. So this video is actually coming on the heels of my Justin Jefferson video, where I talk about him and why he might be a little bit overvalued and why he might be a good sell high candidate right now for fantasy football. And if you watch that video, in it, a lot of it, I broke down the rookie quarterbacks and why I don't love J.J. McCarthy that much. There's been a couple of quarterbacks that have bucked the trend lately in the last couple of years of, being a mediocre rookie offensively, for fantasy and everything like that. Justin Herbert and C.J. Stroud both threw for over 4,000 yards as a rookie. We're in the mid-20s, upper 20s for their touchdowns. Not a high touchdown interception rate. Good rushing numbers as well for both of those guys, which was surprising for CJ. He was a little bit more mobile than people kind of anticipated. And because of that, their offensive weapons were just fine for fantasy football. And that's why I do believe that when you're looking at Caleb Williams in the scheme of the rookie quarterback, where J.J. McCarthy, I don't like him that much as a passer. I think there's a lot to be desired there. It's a lot of projection, right? And that's what I kind of broke down in the Justin Jefferson video. There's a lot of projection with J.J. McCarthy. Maybe he can be the next C.J. Stroud, right? And he can throw for 4,000 yards and kind of really push the tempo as a rookie. I don't really see it personally, but it is entirely possible. If you were going to put money on one of these rookie quarterbacks to break 4,000 yards, who would it be? For me, it's Caleb Williams by a landslide. You look at this entire offense, you've got amazing weapons everywhere on offense. You've got Cole Kmet at tight end. You've got DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, very good loaded wide receiver core. They brought in Gerald Everett as well at the tight end position. They signed DeAndre Swift on day one. He was like the first announced signing of the free agency period for 2024. They also have Roschon Johnson, who people really liked last year coming out of Texas. They still have Khalil Herbert. So there's just a lot of talent on this offense as a whole. Their defense is very good. I think that their defense was playing as like a top 10 unit at the end of the 2023 season, and they've added a few key pieces on that side of the ball as well moving into the offseason. And I think that they're going to be very good. They still have Matt Eberflus as the head coach, And there's a lot of promise on that side that you don't have to rely on Caleb Williams to win you a lot of these games. There are going to be games where they're going to be down and he's going to have to pull them out and drag them to the win. But I do think that this is the best case scenario for a rookie ever. So Caleb Williams, can we expect him to go for 4,000 yards? I think he's going to be close. I don't know if he's going to break 4,000, but I think he's going to be pushing 38 to 4,000. That's my early projection on him. And the main person that I'm using as a template right now for Caleb Williams, giving the new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, is Geno Smith from 2022. Now, obviously last year, Geno Smith was much worse, but if you go back just 2 years ago, Geno Smith played out of his mind in 2022. That year, he had a 70% completion percentage, 4,200 yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, very good numbers there, 5.2 touchdown percentage, 1.9 interception ratio right there. He was pretty mobile as well. When you look at his rushing attempts, he had 366, which is good for fantasy football. All this was enough for him to finish as the quarterback number 5 in fantasy in a standard traditional, 4-point passing touchdown league, 1 point for every 25 passing yards, 1 per 10 for rushing, everything like that. I do think that Caleb Williams is a little bit better of a mobile threat than Geno Smith. I think it's gone very underrated in the entire cycle because of Jaden Daniels. And I think that Caleb Williams is going to be pushing about 500 rushing yards this year. I think he's got a lot more in the tank than people want to give him credit for. Now, the 70% completion percentage, that's extremely high. I don't know if you can anticipate that for a rookie coming out. You take away about 10% of that, and that's not insignificant, right? That's about 40 completions. You take away about 40 completions and you're taking away about 400 yards, which puts Geno Smith right at that 3,700 to 3,800 range. Like I think that Caleb Williams could easily get to. And if he's a little bit better than that, if he gets up to the 65, 66%, then obviously he's going to be right at that 4,000 yards. So I think Caleb Williams is locked and loaded as a top 10 quarterback for 2024 in Dynasty, in redraft, everywhere. And he's going to be so cheap in redraft. He's going to be like my favorite must-add for redraft this year. Now, obviously, Dynasty, he's the number 1 overall pick. Him or Marv, it's kind of in the rookie drafts. Overall, I think he's quarterback number 8 right now, right behind Anthony Richardson. I do think this is fair. This is right where I have him as well. I do think that some of the people that are going behind him, it's a little silly, like Justin Herbert. He's not old. What are we doing with Justin Herbert, man? Like, why are we fading Justin Herbert for an offense that we've never seen before? Obviously, a lot of these guys, look at Russell Wilson for all those years. People wanted Russ to cook and establish it, to be that dominant passing threat. We know Justin Herbert can do that, right, on his own with no rushing game. But all those years in Seattle, Russell Wilson was a top 5 quarterback in fantasy production with a solid running game. Like, Justin Herbert is being so underrated. That's a video for another time. Caleb Williams, I do think that quarterback number 8 in startup rankings and overall rankings for the quarterback is very fair. If I had Anthony Richardson, I would probably try and offer him for Caleb Williams plus a small little return because Anthony Richardson is currently the quarterback number 7. I just think that Caleb Williams is a lot more stable of an asset, and Anthony Richardson is such a projection, man. Obviously, he cooked in the 2.5 games that he played last year, but dude, I think Caleb Williams is actually the solution for Chicago that they've been waiting my entire lifetime for. So, Caleb Williams, going to be a superstar. I do think that the top 10 fantasy finish is in his future, especially given all the circumstances around him. Now, let's jump over to his skill players, though. What can we expect from all those guys? Now, again, I'm kind of using the 2022 Seattle Seahawks as a template here. They were about 60% pass to run ratio. They threw 60% of the time, rushed 40% of the time. In that year, Kenneth Walker had about 228 rushing attempts for about 1,000 yards, a little over. Geno Smith was number 2. Rashad Penny was number 3 with 57 rushing attempts. Really didn't run too much outside of Kenneth Walker. He was kind of the primary bell cow. Now, over here with DeAndre Swift, I do think that there's going to be a little bit more of a push to get him involved in the passing game than the rushing game. I think that they're going to let Roschon Johnson do a little bit more of the heavy lifting rushing-wise than DeAndre Swift. Last year he only had 81 rushing attempts. I could see that number up around 120 this upcoming season for, if he averages the same number, close to about 600 rushing yards, which is perfectly fine for a depth piece given Swift's injuries. The dude can, unfortunately, I guess, never stay healthy. His body's just not been able to. DeAndre Swift for a long time, and I think people forget this at this point in time because it's been so many years now, but back in 2020 when Jonathan Taylor and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it was that draft class, right? Pre-NFL draft, DeAndre Swift was a lot of people's number 1 overall draft running back. They thought he was the most talented out of all of these guys, and it just has not played out that way. But you go back to last year, 2023, the dude finally did stay healthy. He played 16 games. I think he was banged up in a few of them. Didn't play week 18, I guess, the 17th game last year. They kind of finally pulled him to rest him. 229 rushing attempts for 1,049 yards, pretty much identical to what Kenneth Walker had in Seattle. Few less touchdowns. He's not really a big rushing threat, but he is a lot more usable in the receiving game than someone like a Kenneth Walker. So I think what you can expect from Kenneth Walker that year is exactly what you can expect from DeAndre Swift. They're going to use him the exact same. The fact that they signed him as the first overall player out of free agency does tell you something in terms of how they view this guy and what they want to do with him. So I do think that there's some upside there. But that year, good value for him, but it led to Kenneth Walker being the RB18. So I don't know if it's necessarily an amazing value for DeAndre Swift. He's currently going as the RB19. It's kind of his consensus ranking right now. So it's fair. And I think that's where, if you can get a deal, if you can find someone in your league that's kind of out on DeAndre Swift, he's in the same range as David Montgomery, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon. If I had Alvin Kamara and I could get DeAndre Swift 1-for-1, I'd probably consider that just given Kamara's age at this point in time. Same with Joe Mixon. But I could see the world where Joe Mixon and Alvin Kamara have the higher fantasy finish this year for sure. But the longevity there of DeAndre Swift is a little bit more enticing. But, he's an early second-round pick. I just think that DeAndre Swift is being... It's fair value. Again, I don't think he's going to blow it out of the water, but I do think it's something that's a stable asset that you could invest in and have for a couple of years, especially if you're weak at the running back position. So DeAndre Swift, perfectly fair on his value. And if you can find someone who's very concerned about him in 2024, that's a very good opportunity to maybe buy him on the cheap. So just keep an eye out for that. I would not be shocked if over the course of the summer, a few people kind of move up above him and push DeAndre Swift down a little bit more. And that's where I could see DeAndre Swift being, a top 20 running back this year, which is still valuable, guys. You need those for your team. Not everybody's going to have Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson as their 1 and 2, right? You need some of those depth pieces, such as a DeAndre Swift, which he can do with this offense. Now, receiver-wise, this is where it gets interesting. If you go back to, again, the 2022 Seattle Seahawks and what they were able to do from a passing standpoint, this is where it gets very interesting. DK Metcalf led that team in 2022 with 141 targets, Tyler Lockett 117, and third on the team was Noah Fant with 63. Will Disley had 38. Colby Parkinson, the other tight end, had 34. They used the tight end position a lot. They had it split 3 different ways. Now, the good news is I think that in Chicago, there's only really 2 that you need to care about, which is Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. Do they matter for fantasy football? That's the big question, right? I do think that if you want one of these guys, I think that, if you want the Noah Fant of this offense, it's going to be Cole Kmet. You take one guy out of that was about 120, 130 targets that went to the tight end position. I could see Cole Kmet getting around 80-ish targets, 85, which is right in line with what he did last year. 90 targets last year, 73 receptions, 720 yards, 6 touchdowns. With Justin Fields, with I forget the other guy's name, Tyson Bagent. And I just think that Cole Kmet is being a little undervalued right now. If you look at his current ranking, I'm just pulling it up just to see where he is. Currently the tight end number 14, going behind Ben Sinnott as a rookie. I have a tough time seeing Ben Sinnott finish that highly, especially with a new rookie quarterback, new offensive coordinator. I find that hard to believe. I just think there's a lot of potential value there in Cole Kmet, where if he gets those numbers again, he finishes the tight end number 8. Last 2 years, he finishes 7 and 8 for this team. I think that he's undervalued by the fantasy community versus how the team views him. Eberflus likes him. They trusted him near the end zone. Over the last 2 years, he has 13 touchdowns with quite a few targets as well. 160 targets over 2 years. It's hard to find for fantasy football. He's still very young. He's only 25 years old. I know it feels like Cole Kmet is super old and everything, but this guy was a very good player coming out. He's been undervalued. They paid him this offseason. He's getting a lot of money. I think they're paying him like $12 million per year, which is pretty high on the tight end market. So Cole Kmet is someone that is kind of interesting. Again, if you need a tight end, he is someone that I would not feel bad about just plugging into my roster. Just knowing that you're going to get something from him. So, Cole Kmet, someone that is definitely interesting. He's the same value as Troy Franklin, for crying out loud. Like, what is Troy Franklin going to have to do to outproduce Cole Kmet? In terms of wide receivers, there's so many other guys that he's going to have to beat out. And this is the shame of tight end that's slowly being corrected, in my opinion, in the NFL. But honestly, Cole Kmet, you could trade Troy Franklin for Cole Kmet and just have a reliable weekly play at tight end. Yeah, I'm in. I'm definitely in. So anyone saying that Gerald Everett is the guy that's going to push Cole Kmet out, I don't think you've watched much Gerald Everett the last couple of years. The dude is basically cooked. He's not very good anymore, unfortunately. What could have been with Gerald Everett a couple of years ago. Now, the wide receivers, again, DK Metcalf was number 1 at 141 targets, 90 catches. Tyler Lockett, which is funny, had 117, but only 6 less catches than DK Metcalf. They were within 17 yards of each other as well. Tyler Lockett actually outproduced in terms of touchdowns versus DK Metcalf. He had 9, DK had 6. So when you look at the Chicago Bears, who would you say is the DK Metcalf of this offense? For me, it would be more DJ Moore. I think that DJ Moore is going to have the higher target numbers, and I think he's going to have the higher touchdown totals than Keenan Allen. But I think Keenan Allen has extremely reliable hands. We've seen that through his entire career. You're not shocking anybody with that, but you take away some of those touchdowns. I mean, his highest touchdown season was 8 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett has always been a reliable touchdown guy, but this year I think Keenan Allen is probably going to finish with about 6 touchdowns, and that's right in line with what DK had. I think he's going to have about 1,100 yards yet again, close to 100 receptions, just like Tyler Lockett that year, right around 90, right? And I think that that's fine for wide receiver, 17 or 18, which Keenan Allen is definitely not being valued as that right now. Keenan Allen is currently And I get it. He's old. I understand. But wide receiver 45, guys. 45. I was almost going to come on here and say I'm worried about Keenan Allen because I think that he's being just hated on there's too much love for Keenan Allen. But looking at digging into this and seeing the disrespect on Keenan Allen and how little people view him. Like Xavier Legette is rated higher than Keenan Allen. And I get it. Youth, all that fun jazz, right? But Adonai Mitchell is rated above Keenan Allen. None of these guys are going to finish higher than Keenan Allen this year, and there's a potential that Keenan Allen still plays again next year. Like, Dynasty should be played in short windows, especially with rookies. These guys are all later round picks. Okay, Leggett was a first round pick, but nobody really thought he should be up there, right? Super outlier in terms of college prospect. But they're all rookies as well. We don't know what any of these guys can do in the NFL. And you know what Keenan Allen can do. And I get it, it's a rookie, but I think it's a good situation for a rookie. And if Keenan Allen has about 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns, let's say 100 catches. We were just talking about this with Justin Jefferson in my last video. You had 300 yards on that, and all of a sudden you have a top 12 guy. Keenan Allen is not being valued anywhere near what his potential is for this offense. Now, the high touchdown or the high target totals is gone forever. I do think that he's not going to be getting 150 ever again, but 120 targets with his good hands, I don't think that matters too much personally. That he's going to be right around 100 receptions, and he'll be a must-add in redraft for sure, in my opinion. Now, the other guy, DJ Moore, is going to be an interesting guy. He was wide receiver number 6 last year at 136 targets last year, which is crazy considering how low the Bears were in terms of total team targets. I think I did the math. He was around like 38%. If I did it right, engineer, so I do mess the numbers up sometimes, but he's around 38% of the team target totals last year, which is just absolutely insane. You can't have that. You can't have a wide receiver that high, especially with the talent that the rest of this roster has. But again, using 2022 as a baseline, DK Metcalf had 141 targets that year. And I do think that they're different styles of players. Obviously, DK Metcalf is a Goliath. He's a huge man. DJ Moore is not that. He's 5'11", 210. He's much stockier, much shorter, much more of an explosive type of player like that, shiftier. I still think he's going to get around 140 targets this year, and I would not be shocked if they're better, higher quality targets than what Justin Fields was able to do last year. Now, I do think that Justin Fields got a lot better last year, but I think Caleb Williams is starting from a higher baseline than Justin Fields was in the NFL last year. 8 touchdowns. He had a couple of massive games. I think he had a 50-pointer last year. Yeah, week 5 against Washington, had 50 points against Washington, 3 touchdowns, which is crazy that almost 40% of his touchdowns came in one game last year. But I think that there's going to be a lot more stability. I think he's going to be right around 10 touchdowns this year, and that's going to put him very well in terms of his yearly finish. So DJ Moore is someone that I like a lot. I have not been able to get him anywhere, unfortunately, but he's finally being valued. He's been on a roller coaster in terms of his values, right? A couple years ago, he was the wide receiver number 4, plummets down to around the wide receiver number 34, 34, and then he climbs back up. Last year, gets around wide receiver 12, falls back down this offseason. He's being valued as the 107, 108 wide receiver number 20, which is just crazy to me. I think he's a top 12 guy, like guaranteed. He's going behind Tank Dell, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy. Like, what are we doing, guys? Like, yeah, I get it. It's a rookie, but man alive, DJ Moore is so much better than what he's getting credit for right now. So DJ Moore, man, I came into this being a little concerned about the values, but after looking up what the community feels on these guys. It's just insane how little people seem to care, I guess, on these skill players. And honestly, it did shock me quite a bit. So, I'm not someone that's gonna just absolutely blow it out of the water. But yeah, wide receiver 19 on Keep Trade Cut, just kind of double checking the source here, and it's crazy to me. Like, I like Rome Odunze, but Rome Odunze at wide receiver 14 over DJ Moore. Like, what are we doing, man? It's never gonna happen. And yeah, I just think that's absolutely insane. So DJ Moore is a screaming value, in my opinion, because I think he's going to finish right around wide receiver number 10, maybe 8 again, if he has another good touchdown season. I don't see any world where he doesn't pop off for at least 90 catches, 1,400 yards, and 8 touchdowns. What he did last year with Justin Fields is easily replicatable. That's the word I was going for there. Easily replicatable with Caleb Williams. So, again, all these guys are kind of undervalued. I like Rome Odunze. I think Rome Odunze is being he's being compared to JSN, and JSN was good last year. It does not hurt to have a good wide receiver 3. If anything, I'd be a little concerned about Keenan Allen in the second half of the season. Once Rome Odunze is a little bit more involved in this offense and everything, that's when I think that they're going to transition a little bit more from Keenan in terms of the target numbers to Rome Odunze. But Rome Odunze and Keenan play completely different roles. Rome Odunze is going to be playing outside opposite of DJ Moore. DJ Moore is going to be the 1. Rome Odunze is going to be the 2. Keenan Allen's going to be the slot. So they don't really play the same role that much. And I think that that's where you're just going to be waiting for Rome Odunze to come online with Caleb Williams coming online. Once they trust Caleb Williams all over the field and not to just make DJ Moore the number 1 read here, that's where you're going to see a little bit more from Caleb Williams or from Rome Odunze. So wide receiver 14 though, guys, what are we doing? I like Rome, but man, that is rich. So maybe sell on him. Just hold him. Ignore me. Just hold him. The youth and the potential with Caleb Williams is going to be very nice in the next couple of years. So, like I said, when I started this whole thing, I really like the Chicago Bears offense in 2024. I think that there's a lot of potential here, and I think that it's going to be fun. It's going to be very, very fun to watch in 2024 and beyond. So let me know your thoughts. Again, comment down below if you agree with these takes, if you think I'm an idiot that Caleb Williams is going to bust just like every other quarterback ever has for Chicago. But yeah, I'm excited and finally get to root for my Chicago Bears, who have been absolutely garbage from the offensive side of the ball my entire life. So yeah, good times, good times. So thank you guys again for checking this video out. If you like this content, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below, follow me on Twitter at TC_Calvin. And yeah, until next time, we'll see you guys.
And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?